Welcome to Real World Real Estate, where we will explore, examine, and explain the real process of buying or selling real estate. Here is your host, Stephen Clyde.
Good morning, Stephen Clyde here, your host of Real World Real Estate. And today's episode is going to cover the buying process, how to begin your process of buying a home all the way through to closing and handing you the keys. So our goal today is make sure that you have all the information you need in order to begin this process and follow it through flawlessly, making sure you keep all of your ducks in a row, your I's dotted and your T's crossed. So the first three things you should do are not necessarily 1, 2, and 3. They're more like 1A, 1B, and 1C. So first you have to start thinking about what you want. And even more so than that, you need to start thinking about what you need. We talked to all of our clients in the very beginning about creating a 3-column list. First one is going to be need. These are deal breakers. These are things that you must have. There is no flexibility on them. The next column is want. We want that, but it's not a deal breaker. And the third one is wish. Wish is kind of self-explanatory. So you may need 3 bedrooms, want 4 bedrooms, but wish for 4 bedrooms plus an office. You may need 1.5 baths, want 2 baths, wish for 3 baths. You may need additional storage so a crawl space would work, but your wish is a finished basement. You have to narrow these down, and we have to zone in on this so that you know exactly what you're looking for, and we're not going all over the place. Once you have a good feel for your need, want, and wish, then we can start the searching process. At the same time, you should be reaching out to people you know that have bought homes recently, that have bought several homes, and start asking for referrals to their agents. Were they happy with their real estate agent? Did they handle things well? Were they responsive? Were they knowledgeable about the marketplace? Did they understand the process fully? Not all realtors are created equal. It's just like any other profession out there. I'm a firm believer that you want a full-time real estate agent, that this is their profession, not necessarily a part-time agent that does this on the side a couple weeks out of the year to make some extra money. And you really have to ask yourself if you're comfortable making this extremely complicated, serious purchase. It's probably going to be the largest purchase in your life with someone who just got their license. So if Aunt Sally's niece, Jessica, just passed real estate school yesterday and got her license, do you really want to entrust her with this complicated large purchase? Or do you want to work with someone that has done several hundred transactions and has learned along the way? If you feel comfortable being Jessica's test lab and her learning vehicle, then great. Move forward with her, because you have to feel comfortable with the agent you're with. You're also going to want a full-time agent because there are things that need to be done during normal business hours that can't be done when they're done their other job. So this is something to take into consideration. There's a lot of communications that occur between 8 o'clock in the morning and 5 o'clock in the afternoon that if someone is working another job, they can't handle for you. So I am a firm believer in full-time agents in the profession. I'm not a big fan of part-time agents. I'm not a big fan of working with them myself professionally, and I don't think they bring the best value to clients as a whole, but that's going to be your choice. Again, reach out to people, get some recommendations, get some referrals, and then interview those recommendations and referrals and see who you're most comfortable with. Once you've done that, 1C is going to be securing a lender. Reach out to friends and family that you trust and find out who they use for their mortgage. Also talk to the agent that you've selected and who are their recommended lenders that you should use. As full-time agents, we've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. So we've already pre-screened a lot of these people for you. Again, you're going to want to interview multiple lenders, get their good faith estimates. Talk to them about what programs they handle. Not all lenders are created equal. Get a local contact on a lender. There's nothing wrong with Wells Fargo and Bank of America if you're dealing with a local contact. If you're calling into one of their call centers in Plano, Texas or Calabasas, California, then it becomes a problem because if we have issues along the way during the transaction, we don't have a direct contact to get a hold of. So again, reach out to your agent. If you want to use Bank of America or Wells Fargo, ask them if they have a local contact. I would also advise you to stay with mortgage bankers, not necessarily mortgage brokers. That's my own personal preference. I find that mortgage bankers have a little bit more control over the process than the mortgage brokers, and it makes the process that much smoother and that much easier moving forward. So step 1A, figure out and decide what you need, want, and wish for. Now, if you're a couple, you should make 2 separate lists apart from each other. Write up your individual needs, wants, and wish, and then come together and compare them. And where are your matches? Because they're obviously the top priorities. You know, if I want a 4-car garage for my toys, but my wife has no interest in that whatsoever, that's going to go on the bottom of the wish list, right? If I get it, great. If I don't get it, I'm not buying a house because I don't have it, right? You also, during that process, want to consider what is most important to you. Is it your commute time back and forth to work? Is it walkability for the town and the neighborhood? Is it schools for your children? Is it a yard? Do you need a large yard for dogs or pets or for kids to play or for whatever your other needs and wants are? Is neighborhood important to you? Or is lack of neighborhood important to you? So do you want a neighborhood with lots of neighbors and everybody's close? And do you want to be more remote? Do you want a rural setting, or do you want to be close to the city center or the town center? Do you want quiet or do you want activity? Right? All of these things come into play. The end of last year, I had to help my daughter find a home, and we had multiple factors that we had to implement into her search as far as location's concerned on her need list. We had to be less than an hour commute to Manhattan. We had to have a walkable neighborhood so that she could walk to the train station. We had to have a good, solid, high-ranking school system for her children. We needed good activities for the kids for preschool and after school. And then we got into the needs and wants of the house. So factor all these things in. Again, do them separately if you're a couple, then come together and talk through them and start narrowing down and refining your list. And you're going to look at your needs are going to be completely different than anyone else's. So I can't give you a boilerplate for this. Some people want, or some people, let me clarify that, need a 3-bedroom home, but they also need a home office. And because they have family that lives far away and comes to visit, they need a 4th bedroom. Another family may need the 3-bedroom home, but they don't need that guest room. They just need the home office, but they want a playroom. So both of those buyers may be looking at the exact same house, even though they're looking at slightly different uses for that house. So narrowing this down is step 1. Once we have all of that lined up, now we start what I call the elimination process, because I believe after almost 20 years of doing this full time and close to 1,000 families happily finding or selling their home, that this process is a process of elimination, not a process of selection. So we're going to take that list that you put together of need, want, and wish, and now we're going to start eliminating neighborhoods, areas, and homes that aren't going to meet that criteria. So we're going to start narrowing down our search parameters. So if it's a half-hour commute on the train to Center City, Philadelphia, but we want good schools, then we know these 3 towns are the towns we can look in. But we also want a large yard, and we don't want to be near neighbors. We want to be more remote. Well, that may take those 3 towns down to this one section of this one town. We've eliminated everything else. We know exactly where we need to look. Once we start that exclusion process or the elimination process, then the best first step, the active first physical step, is for you working with your agent and putting together a list of 5 to 7 homes to go out and look at. And this should be a diverse sampling of what you're looking for and should exceed your price point a little bit and go under it a little bit. And this endeavor is meant as education, not as a purchase, right? Because we want you to go out, see the home, be in the home, and realize that 300,000 in Berlin Borough buys me X, but 300,000 in Voorhees buys me considerably less. But if I go 2 towns over in the Marlton, it buys me this. What does that budget buy me inside my need, want, and wish list? How much of the 3 can I get at that price point depending on the town? We also want to take into consideration property taxes because that is part of our payment. And we start that educational process. You need to also learn that 2,000 square feet is not equal in every single home. Depends on how the space was used. If you have 2,000 square feet, but 500 of it was a gorgeous master suite, but now your living space for your other bedrooms and your living room and your dining room and your kitchen is only 1,500 square feet, it's not quite practical. Whereas you may have another home where they have normal sized bedrooms and you have over 1,000 square feet to use just for your kitchen and your family room, and it's a more usable space and it's got a better flow to it. Also, the same thing goes with yards. Not all quarter acres or fifth of an acre or half acres or acres for that matter are equal. You know, some are wooded and you can't clear them. Some have slopes to them or hills, or there's large unusable areas because of wetlands. All of these things we have to take into consideration as we go through. So once we start going through homes, I advise all of my clients to, 1, bring a notepad and a pen. 2, take pictures and videos with your phone of the things that stand out to you. They may be completely different than the marketing photos the agent and the seller put online that we're referencing back to. Because what's going to happen when you go out to look at homes and you want to look at a lot of them back to back so you can get that education is you remember the first one and you remember the last one. But all the homes in between become the same house. So we need to take good notes, take photographs, take videos so we can refresh our memory. Another thing that I advise clients to do is you know the space you live in now and how it fits your needs. Be it an apartment, mom and dad's home, your first condo, your first starter home, whatever it may be. You know that space works for you in the bedroom area, or the kitchen's too small, or you need a bigger office or a bigger family room, or they're all the perfect size, whatever it may be. Measure those spaces as your baselines, right? Because if you feel the bedrooms in your current situation are too small, as we're going through our search, we know to look for room dimensions that are greater than that. If you feel it's too small and too tight now, there's no point in adding a home that has a room that's the same size or smaller to our search criteria. And it's, for a lot of people, it's hard to visualize a 10 by 12 measurement versus what they're living in right now, where they can actually see, feel, and touch it and put a tape measure to it. And again, not all room sizes are equal because it depends. Is that room an extreme rectangle where it's going to make furniture placement difficult? Is it a square? Is it a triangle? How is the furniture placement going to work in that space? So we take all of that into consideration. Now, once you've become educated and you have a good feel for the value of the homes, what you get for your money, the space that you're going to need in each home, then we can start narrowing down that search and targeting the area that we specifically want after we eliminated everything else, the style of home we want, the size requirements of the yard and the rooms. And now we've got a laser-focused search where we're looking for exactly what we want. We're eliminating everything else out of that. All right. Once we get there and we find the house, I believe this to be true, and I have yet to be proven wrong on this, that as a buyer, you know this is your home within 30 seconds of me opening that front door. Usually it's less than that. Once you step into the foyer, there's a feeling you get that this is home. If you have to start talking yourself into the house, if you have to start talking each other into it or talking me into it, or, it's not it. right? You're going to know it immediately. There's not going to be any question. You're going to know this is home, this is it, this is the one I want. That is yet to be proven wrong or become an issue. And it's something to keep in mind. Don't get frustrated. I've had buyers that this entire process takes a couple hours. And I've had buyers that this entire process has taken 2 years. And everywhere in between, right? The average is a month or two. But, this is a very large purchase. No matter where you're at on the pricing scale in the marketplace. If you're buying an $80,000 condominium because you just graduated college and you're moving out of mom and dad's and you want to take advantage of the interest rates, or if you're buying your second home and your beach house or your ski house or whatever it may be, and you're spending $800,000, either way, this is an extremely large purchase, and you want to make sure that you love it. Because if you don't like the house, ultimately, if you're not comfortable in there, if it doesn't fit your needs, it doesn't matter what you paid for it. You're going to regret it and hate it every day after that. So once we've selected the house and the neighborhood, now it's time to put an offer together. And when we're structuring an offer, this is where we separate the pros from the amateurs. Your offer should not be based off the seller's asking price. Your offer should be based off of the market. What do the comps look like in the neighborhood? What is the average price per square foot? What's a finished basement and a pool worth in Carriage Stop? What's the value of a 5th bedroom or a 2-car garage? Or is the 2-car garage the norm and this one only has a 1-car, so you stand out? We have to take all that into account, and your agent should sit down, run a report, review those comps and that report with you, and then you should structure your offer accordingly. Because if the seller is 20% overpriced and you get them to take 10% off, you still overpaid for the house. If the seller is 5% below market and you pay full price, you got a value. It's not based off of their asking price. It's based off the market conditions and the market at that time. Now, every area, every state, every market is a little bit different on how they structure or write their offers. Most of the country submits a contract fully executed from the buyer to the seller, and then they start doing write-backs where they scratch it off, write in a new number, initial it, and send it back, and then it goes back and forth that way. That's the most common way. Other ways do a proposal to purchase, and then when they come to what we call meeting of the minds, everyone has agreed to all the terms in the contract, then they draft a clean contract. But the negotiations could move swiftly or they could go slowly. Again, everyone is different on how this proceeds. I've had offers submitted at 5 o'clock. We go back and forth on the negotiations, and by 6 o'clock, we're fully under contract and we're done. I've had offers come in on Saturday afternoon, and we're not under contract or don't have that resolved until the following Monday. They all have their own ebb and flow to them, their own energy to them. Everyone's different on how they want to proceed, how long they need to contemplate something before they respond. But what you want to do is structure your offer based off of those market conditions, and then you're playing chess. And this applies to the seller as well. You want to play that chess game, 4 or 5 moves in advance. If I want to own this at $300,000 and I offer $280,000, well, they're going to go to this point, which means I'm going to go here. They're going to come here. I'm going to go there. And where are we going to meet in? And does that meet in my favor or their favor? Right? What we're looking for is a number and a price point on the house that both you as the buyer are happy and satisfied with, and the seller is happy and satisfied with. We're not looking for a win-lose. We're not looking for a hostile situation. We're not looking for animosity. There's no such thing as a true win-win, but we're trying to get as close to that as we possibly can. Right? So we negotiate a number that fits, and then we go under contract. Now, at this point, I'm just going to talk about the New Jersey marketplace and specifically South Jersey, because I know this part of the contract well, and this changes state by state, region by region. Actually, here in New Jersey, North Jersey version is different than South Jersey version. We're like two different states. So we're going to sign the contracts, and then we're going to have 3 business days of attorney review. So in New Jersey, what that means is any attorney for the buyer or the seller can cancel the contract without any written explanation whatsoever during those 3 business days. So if we sign the contracts on Friday, that means everyone has executed the contracts. Then attorney review will be Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. If Monday happens to be a holiday, then it'll be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's the next 3 business days after everyone has fully executed the contract. Assuming we come out of attorney review without any issues or any cancellations or any revisions, we then have 10 to 14 days, depending on the contract, to do all of our inspections. Now, this is another time where you're going to want to lean on your agent for recommendations and referrals. Who do they recommend for a home inspection? Should you get a building envelope inspection? So if you're in the Northeast and the house has stucco, you're going to want to get the stucco inspected to make sure there's no water intrusion there. Termite inspection. Do we need a septic inspection? Do we need a well inspection? Do we need radon? All of the inspections that you need during that time frame, again, lean on your agent. They should give you multiple names to contact because, again, they have seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. And as in any profession, not everyone is created equally. We go through our inspections and they reveal some defects. Actually did one yesterday for 3 hours. We were down in Long Beach Island doing a home inspection. And for the most part, the inspection came back clean, but the ground level of the home has previous flood damage evidence and what appears to be possible mold. And there's some water intrusion through some of the doors in the property. So we're going to take that report. We're going to take those defects. We're going to write them up in a request letter and send it off to the seller, requesting that the seller have licensed, qualified, insured contractors examine, repair, and replace these situations, and then give us the paperwork accordingly, right? We don't want the homeowner doing DIY repairs, right? We want licensed, insured, qualified contractors to do all the repairs on all the inspections. Assuming that all the inspections are resolved, at this point in the background, the title work has been done, and we're going to cover title work in a later episode and explain what all that is. But the title company has been doing what they need to do. Your mortgage company has been doing what they need to do in the processing and the underwriting process. And we're quickly approaching the closing date. You're going to want to coordinate with movers. Again, ask friends, families, your agent for recommendations, because this is one place where you can really get ripped off by hiring the wrong movers. You're going to have more communications with your mortgage company. They're going to be asking for updated pay stubs and updated bank statements. We may be asking for copies of your passport to verify that, there's someone with a similar name that's not a very good person, and there's lots of judgments and liens against them. We want to confirm that that's not you. We complete all of that, and then we begin scheduling settlement or closing, depending on what part of the country you're in. At which point, we need about an hour. 45 minutes is the norm, but we shoot for an hour. It's a little bit different now during COVID-19 than it would be normally. And we start putting together you contacting the utility companies. Your movers are scheduled. We're putting together the check that you have to bring the settlement to finalize, scheduling to sign the mortgage documents. Now, again, this depends on what state you're in, but in New Jersey, we sit down at the settlement table. Everyone signs all the documents, and we hand you the keys immediately right there. It's your home. If you're in California listening to this podcast, that's going to be a little bit different. You're an escrow state, so you do it differently than we do it. You're going to sign all of your mortgage documents, and then the seller is going to sign all of their documents, or vice versa. And then once that new deed is recorded at the county clerk's office by your closing clerk, then the realtor is going to release the keys to you. So if you close on Tuesday, then hopefully you're getting your keys on Friday. In New Jersey and Pennsylvania, I believe New York, but I'm not 100% sure, definitely Delaware and Maryland, when we finish the closing at 10:30 on Friday morning, we hand you the keys. That is your house at that moment. There isn't that waiting those 3 days. So it's a little bit different everywhere you're at. The process can be daunting. It can be frustrating. It is definitely stressful. This is one of the most stressful things you can do in your life. But you have to have faith in the professionals you're with. You have to have faith in the selections you made of those professionals and trust in their guidance. For the most part, if you hired a full-time agent, anything that's going to come up during your transaction, they've seen numerous times. So it's a non-issue. I will go back to our home inspection we had yesterday. Both buyers are very professional, very educated, very smart and successful people. But this is their first time doing this. So when the inspector was rattling off the issues, the defects, they were going into panic mode. We're never going to we can't buy this house now. Even if we could, we're not going to get in until August. We'll never be in for July 4th. But what they didn't realize is this is a normal issue. We come across this all the time. We have mechanisms and contractors in place to deal with it. And this is not outside the norm. It's outside the norm to them because this is only the third time in their life they've purchased a home. It's not outside the norm to the inspector, myself, my contractors, or anyone else involved in the transaction because this is the 10th time this month we've done this. So we have everything in place to handle every situation that comes up. On occasion, things come up that have never occurred before. It actually happened 2 months ago or a month ago. And we rely on our expertise and our experience to deal with those situations and those around us, right? So, close to 1,000 transactions, almost 20 years of experience. My wife has close to 40 plus years experience. And we had a situation come up last month that neither of us had ever had to deal with before. And the 8 professionals involved in the transactions, none of us had ever dealt with it before. But we put our collective professional minds together. We came up with solutions, backup plans, and we kept everything moving forward. So don't panic. Don't get overly excited. The best advice I give all of my clients is, and every agent's going to be different on this, I let them know that I'm up and ready to rock and roll at 8 o'clock in the morning and I don't go to sleep until 11. Feel free to call me anytime during that window. Because what is festering in your mind, what is causing you anxiety, what is scaring you, may be something very common that we're used to. So a 5-minute phone call at 10:30 at night is so much better than a sleepless night worrying about and panicking about things and creating scenarios in our minds that aren't realistic. So always be in contact with your agent. Text messages and direct messages and Facebook Messenger and email, they're all great, but a lot of times this is so complicated that a phone call is the best way to resolve it. But, you're going to have to work that out with you and your agent. But again, don't let things fester. Don't over panic on things. Don't play things out in your mind that haven't even occurred yet. We're all guilty of that. I am myself, thinking 2 or 3 steps ahead, saying, oh, they found mold. The sellers are never going to fix that. We're never going to get this house. Our summer's over. We didn't get our dream house. And this was all for naught. We wasted 2 months. Well, no, the mold isn't that bad. The sellers should deal with it because it's not going away. And we can resolve it, and we have mechanisms in place to deal with it. So let the professionals take the lead on a lot of things, but stay in constant communication all the time, right? Don't let anything happen in the background. If something changed in your need, your want, and your wish list, make sure you communicate that to your agent right away so they can make adjustments in the searches. The more feedback you give your agent during the search process, the better they're going to be able to do their job. If we're trying to guess what you like or dislike, it makes our job almost impossible. Every now and then we'll get it right. Just like the old adage, a blind dog finds a bone and a broken clock is right twice a day. So if you hide all the information from us, we might get it right. There's a possibility. It's highly unlikely, and it's going to take considerably longer than if you give us all the information. Also, remember that your agent works for you, not the seller, not the other side. So again, divulge the information to us. We have a fiduciary responsibility to protect your interest at all times, and a professional will do that. Some of the other things that come up as we go through this is some people believe they're better off dealing directly with the listing agent and the listing agent only, which, that's considered a dual agent scenario. It's allowed in some states, not allowed in other states. In New Jersey, it is allowed to be a disclosed dual agent, which means we represent the buyer and the seller simultaneously. That takes a lot of skill, a lot of experience, and a lot of professionalism because we're serving two masters simultaneously. And it's not the easiest endeavor. I recommend that you do not go that route and go on Zillow or Trulia and just click off to talk to the listing agent all the time, because the listing agent works for the seller. Now, they will represent you as well, but I always feel you're better off having an independent professional representing you. Yes, your buyer's agent is still going to be paid by the seller, but the buyer's agent works for you. The responsibility legally is to you. And they can walk away from that house with you and go to another house. I think that's all I have on this long this monologue I've gone on. So it was great talking to everybody today. I know I covered a lot of information, but the most important thing you should take out of this in your buying process is steps 1A, 1B, and 1C. 1A, work out that need, want, and wish list. Figure out areas and what's most important to you and your spouse or your partner. Reach out to the people you know and trust for their recommendations to a real estate professional. And then work with that professional and those same people for recommendations to a mortgage professional. If you want any additional information, because I know I covered a lot here and there's a lot to cover in the buying process, and we're probably going to do a second episode about it. But if you have other questions, if you want some clarification on things, if you need a recommendation to a realtor in your market or a mortgage professional, or you want some clarification on anything we covered here, feel free to reach us on Facebook or Instagram at Team Clyde Realtors. So it's at Team Clyde Realtors. That'll work both on Facebook and Instagram. It'll also work on Twitter. Or feel free to email me directly at Stephen, STEPHEN, at teamclyde.com. So that's my email address is Stephen at teamclyde.com. Feel free to reach out. We'll take all those questions and those comments, and we're going to add them into a future episode so that anyone else that needed the same information will get it as well. Look forward to bringing you more information on the buying process, on real estate as a whole moving forward. And next week, we're going to be talking about offers and structuring offers. And the week after that, we'll be talking to mortgage professionals about how to set up the pre-qualification and what you need. So everyone have a great day. Stay safe out there. Enjoy yourself. And I'll talk to you Tuesday.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. If you would like any additional information, please contact us at Team Clyde Realtors on Instagram or Facebook, or you can send us an email at Stephen@teamclyde. Otherwise, we'll see you this Thursday for another market update.